All right, kids, let's talk a little bit about feathers today. So here are some images to show you of natural feathers from actual birds. And you can see they come in lots of different patterns and designs and beautiful colors. Some are really tight knit, veining here, and some are loose and flowy, like you see this white one here. Some are real soft and fuzzy, depending on where it is on the bird. So if you look at this top picture on the right-hand side, you can see these are 3 feathers from the same bird. These are all 3 from a red-tailed hawk. Now this one here is a wing feather, it says. It's made for flying, catching the air. Here's the tail feathers. They look different. They're different colored, but they're also different shaped. And this one is a contour feather or a body feather. Holds close to the body. And you can see that's different depending on where it is on the bird. Pretty interesting, huh? Even different colors. Now let's take a look at how a feather is made up. You have the veining, which is the soft stuff down the sides, right? You have a rachis or a rachis. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce that. I think it's a rachis. And that's the center stem there that goes all the way through the feather. And this bottom part where it sticks into the body is called the calamus. Now you can see sometimes the feathers can be symmetrical, like this one, meaning it's the same on both sides. Or it can be asymmetrical. See how it's much wider, the veining is, than it is on this side, it's thinner. So that's asymmetrical. It's not exactly the same on both sides. Now here's a microscopic view here of the same thing. You've got the rachis, the centerpiece. These barbs, this is part of the veining. You have the distal barbs here that go up, and then the proximal barbs that go down. Pretty cool, huh? So that's what real feathers look like. Now historically, people have used feathers in lots of different ways. Native tribes will use them to decorate masks and clothing for ceremonial purposes. Aren't they beautiful? They might have even used feathers for painting. And even our forefathers of the United States used quill pens made from feathers to sign the Declaration of Independence and other important documents for our country. Now today, we use feathers in lots of different ways. We don't necessarily write with them anymore, although you can find those pens and buy them in lots of stores and online. My daughter bought one not too long ago, and the little inkwell, you can get lots of different colors of ink. It's really cool to play around with that. But today, they're more modernized, easier to use. You can use feathers for decorating. People like to draw feathers, paint feathers. Here, they're printed on a pillow. This is a sculpture made from feathers. See all those feathers coming out of the bucket? And they found black and blue and silvery colored feathers to make it look like water or something spilling out of that bucket. I thought that was pretty cool. So you're going to create your own feather design. And we're using these images as inspiration. So I have a picture from a book here called, the title of this particular image is called Plumes, but you can see the types of feathers. This is from a scientific book. And it shows lots of different feathers and what they look like and the birds that they might belong to, the types of birds. Here's the image we saw before of the types of feathers. Here's a reminder of the parts, the calibus, the rachis, the rachis, and the veining. And here are feathers that are hand-drawn, so you can see, and painted, so you can see lots of different ways that artists create feathers. And here's a peacock feather. So you can see feathers have lots of different patterns. Some have solid colors, some have stripes, some have dots, some have these fancy designs like this, and they're almost metallic. They catch the light. And here's where the idea came from. So this is kind of what your feathers might look like. I found this idea on Pinterest from another teacher and borrowed her images from her students, the work that they created, and I thought this looked pretty neat. So this is what we are going to create today. In the next part of the video, I'm going to show you how to draw the feather, paint it, and then do some printing designs on the top.
Hi kids, it's time to start our feather drawings. So I'm going to give you a piece of poster board. One side is kind of slick feeling and shiny. The other side feels like a soft piece of paper. That's the side you want to draw on because the paint won't stick very well to the slick side. If you don't have poster board at home, that's fine. Paper will work. You can use whatever you have on hand. I'm going to stick this up onto the board so that you can see it. You're going to use pencil, and because I'm on camera, I'm going to use a marker so you can see it. Now I have the image up here that we're going to be looking at. This will be up during class, and if you're watching this at home on the video on YouTube, you can pause the video on this slide to take a look at these feathers. Now, these are images for our inspiration. We have some images that show the parts of the feather, the types of feathers, like where they come from on the bird, what they would look like, and then some different examples of different types of feathers on different types of birds. So you could design yours to look many different ways. We're going to make sure that we draw this center line here, the vein, or the middle part, that hard part of the feather that holds all of it together, from the top of the paper all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to start up here at the top, and it can flow, it can be completely straight. I'm going to curve mine a little bit all the way down to the bottom of the page. Now, most of the feathers I see curve upward. Now this one's like a V, and some of them are more soft or rounded along the bottom. You can decide, looking at whatever feather you like, how you want it to be. So I want the bottom of my feather to be a little wider, so I'm going to angle this up a little bit. So that's the bottom of the feather. And then here's where I'm going to start to angle up the plumes, okay? So, or the veins. So I'm going to make mine more of a V shape here. It can be a V or a U. Either one will work. Now from the top, they can be rounded, or they could be more pointed, or this one has an angle to the side and then angles a little more off. It's asymmetrical, it's not the same. This one's kind of jagged. So take a look at the pictures and decide which way you want to go. So I'm going to make mine the asymmetrical one like you see here because I haven't drawn one like that. So it's kind of straight here. It curves over at the top a little bit, and it's a little bit longer on the side, and then it starts to cut in. Okay, and kind of follows the pattern or the direction of the middle line here. Follow that and connect down to the bottom. Now you have your basic shape for your feather, and you can start to put your designs on it. So I'm going to divide my feather into sections, and I'm going to follow, see this V here at the bottom that I started with? I'm going to use that same pattern, and since I'm asymmetrical, I'm going to do mine opposite sides here and angle them up kind of the same way. Now, I've got a good start to my feather. There's my drawing. The next step is to cut it out. Following the line that you drew, take your time, cut nice and neat. Okay? All the way down to the bottom. Okay? So I've started to cut that out. I've got one already cut out. So here's a different style of feather that I started. Now I'm going to paint this. Now we've got neon paints. Okay. You've got pink, yellow, blue, green, and you've also got some gold. So you'll get a brush and some water and your own palette of paint. And you just paint in the sections of your feather. And if you want to use the brush strokes, like the veining of the feather, pull your brush strokes out. Now, if you don't have paint, you can color these with crayon or colored pencil, whatever you like. Before you switch to another color, make sure you wash your brush. This is your feather, your design. You paint it however you like. Whatever works for you. Okay? So I've got that started. Now I've got one that's finished. I'm going to take this one down. I'll finish that one later. Now this one I have painted all the way. Okay? Different style of feathers. See, they're all different. Alright, so let's put this up here. Now you get to print designs on top of that. So you'll have some options. I've got stamps that I've made like this. These have stars. I have little pieces of sponge. You can stamp any side of that you like. We have some of these stampers. You can stamp with the sponge, or you could use the other end and do smaller dots with the handle. And we've got cardboard, and you can dip this into the paint and this will print lines really nicely for you. I'm going to start with that. Now the paint we have to do the printing is white, black, and red. It's going to show up nicely on top of your fluorescent paints that we have here. Now again, if you're at home and you don't have paints available, if you have a marker, if you've colored this in colored pencil, you could take a Sharpie marker and draw over top with the designs. Those come in lots of different colors. So I'm going to start with some black, and I'm going to dip my cardboard in my black paint. And I can print lines on my feather, just like that.
Okay, so I had a little technical difficulty with the video. You can see it ends kind of abruptly there. The camera I was using to video stopped on me. So we'll continue on here. I was showing you at the end of that how to print. So we started with the cardboard and printing the lines, and I showed you the different items we will have in class to print with. You can find lots of different things. If you have paint at home and you want to print on your feathers, then you don't have to use the exact same things that we used in the video or in class. You can use whatever you can find at home that your parents will allow you to print with. Dip in paint and press on paper. I wanted to show you the finished one. Okay, so here's the same feather that I was showing in the video, and you can see the lines here that I printed on the feather, the black lines. You can see the red spots that I printed with the sponges, so there's one there. The white are the stars. I had a little dowel rod that I cut into shorter pieces for the kids to use and dipped into black paint to do the little dots in the middle of the red. So you can see you can layer your printing and create any kind of designs that you want. So happy art making, and I look forward to seeing all of your fanciful feathers.